For those of us of steadfast dedication to progressing as far as we can in this life into complete liberation and enlightenment, this video is for you. I'd like to offer you a guiding instruction as to how this can be attained, how this can be considered, because you may recognize that when you read, listen to, tune in to these great sacred teachings spoken by the enlightened masters of our times and of centuries past, that the experience of enlightenment is an elusive phenomena that is never described. And if anyone attempts to describe it or state what it is or think they have got it, then, you know, it's always not it. That's not it. And so the experience, the attainment, enlightenment itself remains this elusive thing that nobody actually knows what it is. You know? So I would like to offer a guiding direction once the fly goes away as to how we can at least perceive the direction of towards and into the enlightened, fully liberated state. So here goes. Here in this transformational community of realized consciousness, we utilize the Om symbol, which is the symbol of Hinduism that denotes, symbolizes supreme consciousness. It also symbolizes the trifold deities within Hinduism as well. You know, like Vishnu, Shiva, Brahman, and particular qualities related to each. But for ease, simplicity, Om symbolizes supreme consciousness. So the realization of supreme consciousness is a liberation, is the enlightenment for ourselves to attain in this lifetime. When I was in India last year, I was walking down the road, internally praying, contemplating. It was during a period of time, a period of a couple of weeks, where I could feel some elements coming up within me. I actually felt a lot of fear coming up from within me. It was like really deep down in my root. I had this fear, this anxiety for no reason. There was no story to it. I just felt this fear. So I was going through and processing through this fear as it was happening over the days, a couple of weeks there. And, you know, I recognized that there's just some deep stuff coming up from the root here, passing through, but it was, you know, it remained with me. The uncomfortable experience of fear remained with me for a few days. So I took a lot to prayer in Christ, and evoking Christ light for peace and comfort as the fear was coming up and doing its thing and resolving, processing whatever it was doing. It was quite intense and very spontaneous. So deep, fervent prayer, abiding in Christ, abiding in Christ consciousness during my days. So I'm walking down this road, busy road in India, in Goa, in India, praying, introspecting, you know, deepening within. Then all of a sudden, my consciousness shifted. So when we think about our consciousness and we're kind of in the body, participating in activities and relating with the world and objects and people of this world, then there's an external gazing. And we have, generally, most of the time, in our day-to-day life experience. Well, the shift I experienced was from that internal gazing, if you like, outward gazing, to a complete internality. My consciousness just went and just reversed and became completely internalized. And as it did, it just put me in this other space and place of being, which was really, really silent, really still. Even though I was going down this busy road, there's motorbikes and there's cows and there's dogs, stray dogs, and there's all sorts of bustling going. I was completely internalized in this space of absolute stillness, like that fluid stillness, and sense of eternity. So it was very deep, it was very profound, and there was no attachment at all to the body. I could still recognize that there was a body there, I wasn't like flying away up in the stars and the astral realms and things. I was like in this space where there was no attachment or anything to the body at all. There's just a recognition of a body there, recognition of the environment, bustly, busy environment, busy road, lots of sounds, but all of these sounds and everything in the experience, in the internal experience, was secondary to this absolute stillness and deep presence and sense of eternity. And in the moment, in the initial moments of this consciousness flip, I saw it internally, just in front of me, the Om sign, gold-coloured Om sign. And I recognize, putting two and two together, I recognized that I was in the experience of Om, in the experience of being in as of supreme consciousness, as they refer to it in Buddhism. So I was in the realization of Om. And different perspective realizations came to me during this time. This really potent, deep experience remained with me for, I'd say, about a week to 10 days. I actually then got food poisoning. I had a motorbike accident, and it took me out of this Om realization, But whilst I was in it, I recognized that I recognized the eternity of God consciousness. I was as that, whilst also engaging this body as a secondary thing, a secondary phenomena. And when I observed the world, the material world, there was nothing to it. There was no meaning, there was no emotion, there was no interpretation of it. It was just like people, objects, colours, sounds of which I was not a part of. So it was like, it was very fake or false looking, very surreal. I've had little flashes of this kind of mystical experience throughout the decades, But this one seemed to be absolutely complete. I was consumed by the Om realization, and I recognized the illusory nature of the material reality, So all looked very unreal, but, it was non-personalized at all. There was no emotion, there was no interpretation, there was no human context to that material, external material experience of the environment. And all of the people, they just seemed like these apparitions of consciousness. There was nothing to them, The mind wasn't interpreting people. The mind wasn't in the human context of experience at all. It was consumed by the eternal. It was consumed by Om. There's this absolute stillness and absolute silence, even in the midst of busy Indian streets in Goa with all the noise, you know? So I recognize that, well, what we live in the personalized human context is the unreality of experience, is the illusion, because obviously there is unconscious interpretation that comes from our minds. There is the emotional context to the experience, or the emotional projection into the experience, into relation with people, objects, situations, things. There is all of the emotion of ourselves, dependency and need and desire and striving, and this all creates the illusion of the human experience, you know. So that is what is actually unreal. In the consumed by Om experience, I then had the chance to see the dissolution of the human context completely in a sustained way. And I just recognized that everything was just like this pop-up book. You know, you get a children's pop-up book and these like cardboard things just pop up. You know, they look real, you know, and you can make a story out of it, but in fact, it's not. You know, there's nothing to it at all. There's no meaning to it. It is card. It is nothing. It's empty, you know. So that is what the material world experience was recognized as, you know. And similarly, I've had insights like that in previous experiences past that have been more like fleeting and temporary. But this was like, this was the deepest, most impacting experience that I have had over the decades of being involved in this game of life, you know. And I had a real sense of the supernatural presence or consciousness of God. And so when I was consumed by Om, I was like in deep devotion, you know, just felt this deep heart resonant, complete heart resonant devotion in my being. Is like just this bliss and, you know, this love, this bliss. But I wasn't acting out in any way, emotional way about the love and the bliss. It was just there, that just as what it was. And when I was going about my day, I was still doing normal things and relating to people normally. But I was very much in this different place. Fly. So the recognition of the Om, the realization of Om, was a recognition for me of the supreme reality, supreme consciousness. I use the word supreme. That is what the Hindus use to describe it. So, however, you know. And since that experience last year, then I recognized the Om. I realized the Om anytime, all the time, you know. So just a quick flick of intention within my being, within my mind, I recognize Om. I recognize the Om experience, you know, and I can just really sit present, deepen into that at any time, almost at any time, you know. Obviously, sometimes I'm busy and working and things like, you know, I'm not going to do the Om so deeply, you know, but it is there, you know. So the peak experience I had in India is like blown a hole in my head, you know. It's blown a hole through my any conditioned consciousness and given me that open doorway of access to Om and to rest and abide in there and to deepen in there. And that's where actually I feel where I feel where I belong. I mean, okay, there's no I and there's no belong, but just for communication's sake, you know. So as I was actually driving down here home on the motorbike, I was contemplating again how my heart isn't in the world. It's not towards the things of this world, although I enjoy and participate in the experience of it. I feel quite clearly that my heart is in the Om. realization, the Om experience. And if you were to consider 2 dimensions, there's the physical dimension, people, person, sense of somebody, etc. And then there's God consciousness, Om, supreme reality, 2 dimensions, quite simply, you know. So, with the recognition of both of those dimensions, you can transition into the Om experience. So Om is where you hear the term, Om is where the heart is, So that is how I feel. I feel that Om is where my heart is. I feel as if I'm sitting in Om, whilst I'm going about my day. I close my eyes, just have a little observation internally, and I just feel my being is in Om. My heart is in Om. The sense of belonging, fullness, completeness, whatever, is in Om, whilst interfacing with the experience of this world. So that's it in very simplistic terms. But the point of this video that I want to say, this Om experience, this Om realization, this what I've just spoken about here, is open and accessible for us all. Of course it is, because it is supreme consciousness. So it is all, it is everything, So, and being supreme consciousness, that is it. For those of us steadfast in our aspirations of liberation and enlightenment during this life, then the realization of Om is where it is at for us, So like I explained at the beginning of the video, normally when people are speaking about masters and people are speaking about enlightenment, it's this elusive thing that we can't really kind of picture or imagine or kind of pin down. But I do feel that what I am explaining here will actually help and support the recognition of what the actual direction is for complete liberation and enlightenment. It is the realization of Om. It is the sustained realization of Om. And then this realized consciousness community is based on that, is based on the sustained realization of God consciousness, the sustained realization of Om. So if anyone has not, I don't know, I never had that Om experience, what is it? Simply, very, very simply, meditate. When you go into meditation, you have a good meditation and you go like really deep and perhaps your breath is stopping or you lose touch with your body, and you're going really, really deep into this like deep voidness, this internal spaciousness that you may experience in a really good meditation. That is you in the experience of Om. That is you deepening into the experience of Om. Now, it isn't always, it doesn't always happen that you get into that deep space. Meditations have a different shape and form of experience every time. But if you have a good meditation and you're able to remain clear-minded as you deepen into the meditation, then you are deepening into and you're clarifying, becoming clear within and deepening within the Om realization. So that's it. It's there, it's open, probably yourself watching this video, others too, go, yeah, I recognize what that is in my meditations, good meditation. I can feel that spaciousness, that lightness, and that sense of eternity. Well, there it is. There's the Om experience that we're deepening into. So what I relayed to you about my experience in India was like just a complete absorption in the Om experience in every state, sleeping, waking, walking about, in the shop, speaking to people, state. There's just this complete consumption of Om, this complete absorption in the experience and being as the primal eternity of Om whilst the body is doing its thing and you're interacting with that experience too, So this is where our liberation and enlightenment is, in the realization of Om. And we just use Om as a symbol for recognition, for communication, for conceptual identification. That is it. It's quite a cool symbol. It's nice. And so it works. And that's why we have it for the group here. Now, we are going through the 4 phases of conscious evolution. Now, the thing about where we are before phase 1 and where we are at the end, just say, consider it in a linear way, which it isn't completely, but just for communication's sake, recognition's sake, we're at the beginning as a person, as a somebody that we take ourselves to be, this Ronnie, this Mary, this James, this Anne-Marie, this person with the emotions and the people in the life and context of humanity. Then we go through the 4 phases into the Om realization, the sustained realization of Om, the sustained realization of consciousness. And we pass through the phases. And what we're doing in the phases is we're basically in phase 1, we're waking up, we are learning. Phase 2, we are deepening, we are resolving, we are healing and cleaning ourselves up. Phase 3, we are embodying, we are integrating, and we are resolving from dualistic perception. In phase 4, we are deepening and becoming more clear in our realization of God consciousness, of Om. So that's the 4 phases in a nutshell. So what we are doing in the phases, particularly in phase 2, is we are resolving the subconscious programs and conditioning in our mind. Because all of the things that we've experienced in our life past that just say that have been trauma related, that have been challenging, that have been troubling, that have been caused pain and hurt. All of the pain, hurt, trauma and trouble and challenge has all happened to you, to us, as a sense of being somebody. They did that to me, So there's a two of, there's the you who has been hurt and inflicted upon by the other person. So that somebody, that sense of somebody has been reinforced and reinforced and reinforced time and time again throughout the experience of this life. And it is the unwinding from that is taking us into complete liberation and realization, sustained realization of God consciousness. So all of these things that we are looking at in phase 2, we're seeing these subconscious impulses of anger, frustration, resentment, hatred, arrogance, and all of these things. The anger, the arrogance, the hatred, the frustration, all of these emotional, psycho-emotional programs have reinforced the sense of being a somebody, body consciousness, So as we resolve through phase 2, we do all of our shadow healing. We are at the same time breaking down, and it's causing at the same time a breakdown and resolution and dissolution of all of the programs, psycho-emotional programs that have reinforced the sense of being a somebody with all of our attributes of being a somebody, a person, a Ronnie, a David, a Julie, or whatever. It's all being reinforced in their life. So the phase 2 experience, where it's a resolution phase, shadow healing phase, and we're purifying emotions, we're deepening into and resolving past trauma, hurt, and all of these things. You are also deconstructing and unwinding from the sense of being a somebody that has been compounded by all of these subconscious programs that are held in the subconscious mind, So we're resolving and purifying and dissolving the someone, the somebody, So that is a kind of wider perspective on the phase 2 process. We're unwinding from being a somebody. All of these programs need to go, because every program that has been clicked into our psychology and into our being through our lives, as I said, has just reinforced it's just reinforced body consciousness. It's reinforced the illusion of being a somebody when we are in fact not. We are of God consciousness itself. We are of the supreme the supreme reality and consciousness itself. So phase 2 and phase 1, 2, 3 is basically where we are becoming more aware of these dysfunctional programs, dysfunctional emotional behaviors, behavioral hostilities. And as we work through our stuff, we are also dissolving and breaking down the conditioning that has reinforced the sense of being an individual somebody, so that's interesting, isn't it? And so the more we go through the process and we the programs break down that's reinforced us of being an individual somebody, we start to open up more and more and more, and we become more clear in our consciousness. We become more balanced. We're not having this up and down experience of feeling good one day and bad the other as we go through the emotional roller coaster and dark nights of the soul and all of that kind of thing. Phase 3, once we go through the intense period of phase 2, shadow resolution, phase 3 begins to see a balancing and an integration as well as a resolution from dualistic perception. And we're setting ourselves up for phase 4, realization of Om, the sustained realization of God consciousness. So that is providing, it would certainly provide the understanding of why we use the Om symbol in the group and why the group has its name, etc. Because it ties in with the direction, of progress and advancement in this experience towards and into complete liberation and enlightenment. So those whom are truly steadfast in their dedication, truly have a chance of progress here, because all of the keys are spoken about and explained in the 4 phases of resolution description that I've communicated a couple of times within the group, within the community, and which I will go on to elaborate on as I realize and learn more and more about it in the experience of myself too. So there you go. There's some direction for the course of our steadfast discipline and experience of our lives.